Wednesday before the NCAA tournament officially tips off tomorrow. Obviously, the round of 68 underway. We are down to 66 teams remaining. 64 will begin their journey tomorrow. It's Mr. Relevant from the Grubel offices, One Call That's All studio at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. I'm Alex Strouf. Joshy DiMaggio is here. Will Summers is doing something back there. Maybe he'll join us at some point. And Hunter Vaughn, of course, back at the Everlight Zolder Studios in downtown Madison. Lots of stuff to get to. I got bullied into this one, fellas. Colin Russo of ESPN West Palm is going to join us, our old friend. Maybe the now that Josh is a co-host of the show, I would say the guest that has appeared the most on the show is Colin Russo. He will join us to talk a little NCAA basketball here in about 15 minutes. Amongst a few other things I have for him, Josh, did you see the rant his father went on?
Which one?
The one about him at the Mets spring training facility?
No.
Okay, the long and short of this is, so Mad Dog Russo, Christopher Russo, who you see on ESPN's First Take, obviously one of the pioneers of sports radio, went on an 18-minute uninterrupted rant on Friday about how Colin and his co-host Mike Russo and Rizzo on ESPN West Palm, went down to Port St. Lucie, Florida, where the Mets were having a spring training game, and they did the show from outside the facility. Colin reached out to the Mets to ask to have somebody on. This comes right after they had the Nationals general manager on at a different spring training facility. And they said, nope, nobody has time. And their show was a couple hours before the game, yada, yada. Russo's father, Mad Dog, went on an 18-minute rant about how much he hates the Mets. And it has now been picked up by a bunch of media outlets writing hit pieces on Colin for being a Nepo baby, and how Mad Dog has yelled about Bronny and LeBron a lot, and now he's being a hypocrite. I mean, it's incredible. I listened to the whole rant last night. I mean, it is Mad Dog at his finest.
18 minutes uninterrupted is impressive. I do think Mad Dog might have ruined any potential relationship that would be had for the future of young
with
Mr.
the Mets,
Russo.
yeah, the Mets,
that one has set sail. Hopefully they don't become hyper successful in the near future, where that come back to bite them.
Well, it looks like they might, given all the money they've been spending.
I'll believe it when I see it for those guys.
That's fair. So we might ask Colin about that because, unbeknownst to him, he finds himself in the middle of controversy, which I like. So he's going to join us, big college hoops fan.
I really want an update on swim club.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
That's what I care about.
He joined us a couple weeks back and told us about the elderly swim club he joined. So there's many layers to the great Colin Russo, who will join us in about 15 minutes. But before we get there, let's talk a little Packers. Let's talk about the move of the day, which, of course, was made yesterday, as the Green Bay Packers have officially signed wide receiver, kick returner, punt returner Mecole Hardman, now the former Kansas City Chief, to a one-year deal. I said this immediately. I tweeted this last night, got into a few scuff-ups on Twitter with people saying, what low-risk, high-reward moves has Goody ever made? This is just a swing. This is not an immediate impact move. This is not fixing the wide receiver one conversation that we've been having for months. That's not what this move is. This move is bring in a fast guy, which Mecole Hardman, very fast, known fast guy, to likely return kicks and punts, right? That takes Keyshawn Nixon off of kicks now that he will be a big part of their defensive scheme as debatably their top corner on the roster. And then punt returns, Jaden Reed had been returning those, and I think us as Packers fans have complained for a while because he was injured on a punt return at one point. And he's just too valuable to the Packers offense at this point to have him continue returning punts. So this move is not, hey, we just hit a home run at the wide receiver one department. Who needs Devontae Adams when you've got Mecole Hardman? That's not what this move is. This move is, we'll bring him in. We'll see what he's got. Maybe he works his way into a fourth receiver role. And ideally, maybe he evolves into the next, Deebo Samuel or Cooper Kupp or, this next great receiver, ideally, right? But that's not why you bring in Mecole Hardman. You bring in Mecole Hardman to return kicks, to return punts, and be a depth receiver. That's all this move is. So when you take that move for what it is, I like it. I don't see any harm in this. It's a one-year deal. It's low money. It's super low risk. He might not even make the roster, right? I mean, you've got 90 roster spots to fill between now and the end of preseason. Might as well take a flyer on a guy who's been in the league a couple of years, who obviously has terrific speed, and may be able to provide you some sort of spark offensively. I don't have an expectation for him to provide a spark offensively, but it's more guys in the room. They're going to do it with draft picks. They're going to do it with undrafted free agents. Mecole Hardman is just another swing at the wide receiver position. So I have no issues with this whatsoever. The issue I have is the people that are viewing this as a bad thing. There's no reason to view this signing as a bad move by the Green Bay Packers. You can view it in the context of, well, they didn't reach out to Devontae Adams. Yes, I'm still mad about that too. And that's a mistake this offseason, to not do your due diligence and look into a guy who is clearly a top-end receiver. But Mecole Hardman is not that. And the expectation is not for him to be that. The expectation is for him to maybe come return some kicks, come return some punts, and maybe be a depth wide receiver, right? Like in the category of Bo Melton. That's what Mecole Hardman will be on the Packers offense. This is not a wide receiver one signing. So don't act like that's what this is. That's the part that irritates me. And people that say, oh, well, this is a stupid move. It might be. And guess what? They can cut him at the end of training camp. And that's that. So to me, there was absolutely no downfall in taking a swing at a guy who's bounced around the league a little bit, but has won 3 Super Bowls. And again, this is not me saying he played a big role in winning 3 Super Bowls.
He literally won one.
That's true. He did. That's true. That's true. But he didn't win all 3.
No.
and that's not the case I'm making. He's had some good moments in the National Football League, but he's never been a number 1 receiver. And that is not what the Packers are operating and signing him as. They're signing him as a depth piece and a good add to the offense, maybe. And otherwise, I think this is a complete special teams move for Rich Bisaccia and to have a new returner with a high ceiling. That's all this is to me, Joshy. What do you make of the Mecole Hardman signing?
I think as much as you're trying to tamp down expectations over there, that you're overselling even what he's viewed as by the Green Bay Packers. I think best case scenario for Mecole Hardman is he competes with Bo Melton and then is a kick returner. I don't think at any point during the season, unless something goes way wrong with injuries, he'll ever see more than 5 to 10 snaps in any given game, other than being an emergency injury replacement option. Mecole Hardman is what he is at this point. He's had a long career. He's been in some pretty advantageous situations. He, for whatever reason, did not get along with the entirety of the Jets team and their coaching staff, and that's how he ended up back on the Chiefs yet again just this past season. I mean, he's plus odds to be cut before final cut day for the Green Bay Packers.
Plus odds or minus odds?
Minus odds, sorry. There's a good chance that he, at some point, be it through the draft or whatever ends up happening, they go, we've got 5 better options. This guy isn't what we need him to be. See ya.
And guess what?
Good luck.
And guess what? That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nothing signing.
I tend to agree.
It is. And
maybe it won't be, but I mean, like, it's been compared a lot to Sammy Watkins, which it very well could work out that same way.
I think placing it like Sammy Watkins is aggressive. Sammy Watkins was a plan to be in the offense.
That's true.
There was Sammy Watkins plays. I don't see much more than maybe an end around or 2. But even at that point, if Mecole Hardman starts seeing the field, everyone's going to go, well, this is probably an end around. Well, this is probably reverse. It's not like he's going to fool anyone. He's got speed. That's what they wanted. That's what they were looking for. That's what they felt the wide receiver room needed. And that's the guy they went on and got. He was probably the best remaining options in terms of straight line speed. And then you have the added incentive of Keyshawn Nixon made it pretty clear. CB1s don't return kicks. I think there's a whole other conversation there to be had, because with this move, it sure does seem like they are moving towards the Keyshawn Nixon is in fact the Packers cornerback 1. I think you can certainly be better at that position, but I don't think what we're going to see from Keyshawn Nixon is going to be all that disappointing. Mm-hmm. I think what we saw was more than apt play. It was more than good. He did a good job in that spot. Now, will a full season change that? But Mecole Hardman is speed, kick return. That's about it. He might have He might be under 25 targets all season long if he plays a full season with the Packers.
I mean, he had 12 catches in 12 games last year with the Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
It's not like this guy is a high-impact receiver. And again, I'm not acting like that. Maybe he comes in highly motivated with a chip on his shoulder and he becomes a depth piece. But guess who's still getting snaps over him? Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, without a doubt. Maybe even Bo Melton, right? I mean, and probably Bo Melton, to be real honest with you. He's probably your 5th or 6th receiver as it stands right now, and that's before the draft. That's before undrafted free agents, and obviously the Packers have picked up some undrafted free agents that have made rosters in the past. Allen Lazard, probably the best example of that, after he spent some time in Jacksonville. So, look, it's a fine signing. It's a move. I'm not saying it's a good move. I'm not saying it's a bad move. It's a move. It is a move. And that's that to me. I think it's not a big story. And obviously it's the middle of the offseason, so we're going to make it a big story because it's a name you've heard of before. And the Packers actually went out and got a wide receiver for once.
This move is falling victim to the fact that it's not Devontae Adams.
Do you think that's the case?
Yes. People were waiting for whatever pathetic name they signed at wide receiver to get re-mad about the Devontae Adams thing. Or if DK Metcalf was your persuasion. Like, either way. That's all this boils down to, and I think that's all... I shouldn't say all. That is the majority of what the consternation for many Packers fans, who seemingly are as negative as I've ever seen them, coming off of a pretty good season and a team that certainly seems to be ascending. They might not be ascending to which the speed you desire, but it feels like there is more negativity about this team right now than there was when they were struggling to make the playoffs and eventually missing them with the Lions.
Right.
Against the Lions. That's where I feel like we're at right now, and I can't quite pin down why exactly those feelings are rising up in the way they are. I think it probably has something to do with uncertainty regarding Jordan Love and how good he is or is not. It certainly doesn't seem to be like Aaron Rodgers hangover stuff anymore. That seems to be gone by now. I can't really pin down what... I think a lot of it also is... there's no sexy names that people can get excited about, especially after you draft a offensive tackle with the first pick, who then does not play much of the season. Marshawn Lloyd also does not play really at all this season. So, like, the contributors you were hoping for to make sense and to make a case. You can't make a case for those guys.
No.
Because there is no body of work to really make a case for.
Yeah.
So it feels like the Packers are in no man's land, and I think they're better than no man's land, but I'm still disappointed with what has taken part so far this offseason.
Dair Carragher just tweeted.
Yes.
Current rings on the Packers roster. Matt Orzech, the long snapper, has 1. Brandon McManus, the kicker, has 1. Mecole Hardman is 3.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's championship pedigree.
I do not see a downside to bringing in a guy that you said literally won a Super Bowl. He had the game-winning touchdown in that overtime Super Bowl, the first Eagles and Chiefs matchup 2 years ago. But otherwise, pretty low impact in those 3 Super Bowls he did win. But it's a signing. I'll never complain about a signing, especially this time of the year. Might be a guy that doesn't make the roster. Might be a guy who ends up returning kicks. I don't think he's an impact receiver. We will leave it at that. All right, let's go to this. I don't even know how to intro him these days. He is the host of Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3 in West Palm Beach, Florida. He is a graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Madison and a Badger fan. He is the biggest fan of not UConn's head coach Dan Hurley, but their assistant coach, who is the son of Bill Murray. It is our buddy, our friend, the great Colin Russo, joining us now on Mr. Irrelevant. Hi, Collie. How are you?
Hi, Stroufy. Hi, Joshy. Hi, Hunter. How's everybody today on Mr. Irrelevant? I was the backup once again, but I'm happy to be here. What's going on?
For all the people who are listening to this in the podcast version, the reason you didn't hear Colin right away after the introduction was he was wildly pumping his fists and swinging his arms. So great job by our guy there, our radio host down there. That is what was happening.
Wait, can you not hear me?
We got you.
No, we got you loud and clear. There was just a long pause because you were too busy pumping your fist.
Oh, my bad. All right, first of all, fellas, how are we feeling? What's going on with the tournament? I mean, there's a couple teams that we like as a couple Cinderellas. Are there any that you two have in mind that you want to lay on me really quick?
You have such a thick Northeastern accent that you do not say the word tournament correctly. I just want to point that out first. Second off, yes, I have plenty of thoughts and a couple of things I want to get to with you. We are also, before we let you go at some point, we are going to play a game of one word, which we play every Wednesday. But Hunter has come up with, I don't know how many he's come up with. Hunter, what's your number today for one word?
The same as always, 10 words.
So 10 prompts that we will answer with tournament teams or tournament related things before we let you go when we play One Word Wednesday. So we will do that. But in overall thoughts on the tournament, number one, nobody saw this one coming. UNC last night was expected. Like, they are playing with a huge chip on their shoulder. Everybody's talked their bleat for the last couple of days. They come out, they absolutely smoke San Diego State. That's actually a team I'd be afraid to see in the first round.
Well, one thing you got to think about, too, being that 11 play-in is almost a little beneficial because you play the extra game, but in a lot of ways you have a good matchup with that play-in game because it's the last four in, and you don't and comparatively to what, like an 8 or 9 game where you have the first seed the second round. Instead, you're playing a seed that's beatable. You're playing a 6. So honestly, I think UNC's in a good spot here. Unfortunately, but the way they got in was such a disgrace. That annoyed me to no end, how they got in. And now West Virginia fans, let's light a candle for the West Virginia fans of the world. They lost their coach. They're losing all their players. They didn't make a bid to the tournament because that best player was hurt. And that's the only reason the guy gave when he was asked about it, which is the biggest joke of all time, how Bubba Cunningham said, oh, well, Tucker DeVries hasn't played. Well, he hasn't played since the beginning of December, and they still beat Kansas.
But hold on. Just pause on that real quick, because this is not the first time we've seen this. Now, it might be the first time we've heard that example in college basketball, but let's not forget Florida State in the college football playoff 2 years ago when they were undefeated, but their quarterback was out for the year. That was the answer they gave when they were stopped.
Well, here's the comparison to that. Number one, you're talking about a 4-team field with Florida State. And number two, if you're thinking about it, Jordan Travis, for example, was the most important player of the team. Yeah, Tucker DeVries is as well. But Florida State didn't look good without him. West Virginia actually looked good without Tucker DeVries in the mix. That's why I thought it's not that comparable. And you're talking about a field of 68. Get him into the tournament. You know, there was like a bracketology website where all these people who do this for a living are on. It was 137 brackets.
I did, yeah. And
all 137 of the 137 available had West Virginia as an at-large, straight up, no complaints, no discussion. And the only ones who didn't do it was the one with the UNCAD as the committee chair. That was a little rough.
That was a little rough. I'm with you there. Wisconsin, they draw Montana in the first round, 3-14 game out in Denver. Don't really want to dive into that matchup as much as I'm curious. We talked a lot about this on Monday. What are your thoughts on them in Denver and not Milwaukee? I don't view that as them getting screwed by any means. Do you?
I don't think it's them getting screwed. I think they should be happy. They're still at the 3 spot, and I think they got a very good matchup with Montana. Weirdly enough, like you said, I don't want to dive into the matchup, but it's Big Sky. I've watched Montana play about 4 or 5 times throughout the year. Montana's terrible. They're going to kill Montana. And this is me saying this, and I'm a Badgers pessimist. They're going to kill Montana. They have no size. I saw Northern Arizona and Tim Russo. I saw Northern Arizona and Tim Russo go blow for blow with Montana for about 3 games throughout the season. And if Northern Arizona can go blow for blow with Montana, Wisconsin's going to torch them. I am not worried about that game whatsoever. So, that's me saying that.
Couple of cleanup things for those that are not aware. Tim Russo, who Colin is referencing, is his older brother. He is an assistant coach at Northern Arizona, who plays in the Big Sky Conference with Montana. Northern Arizona, for context, finished right in the middle of the pack, 8-10 in conference play. Montana finished 15-3 this year. That is why Colin knows about Montana and the Big Sky Conference. His brother coaches there. He was a grad assistant at UConn the first year they won a national championship of the back-to-back years, and then Tim accepted the job at Northern Arizona, been there the last 2 seasons.
Also, remember when we weren't going to break down the game? We just got a full Montana breakdown.
But he didn't break down the Badgers.
Yeah, the only thing
the elevation. All right, how about this? What if I tell you it's becoming more apparent year by year that the committee puts no stock into doing anything in your conference tournament, unless you're West Virginia and losing to Colorado hurts you. Unless you're West Virginia.
Yeah,
now they don't put any stock.
It's a
they
really
didn't help
good-
Michigan.
No.
My question is to you guys, really quickly, is do you think does it almost act counterintuitively for the Badgers to play so hard in that conference tournament and they didn't get it again?
Yes.
And now all of a sudden after
Yes.
4-4, they have to play 3 days later. That hurts them?
I think at the very least, it tells you that they're going to screw you and put you on short rest. And that in and of itself is enough to be like, yeah, this probably isn't worth it. Because once you get to that semifinal, then your seat's pretty much done. The outcome of the championship game, you might as well just send your bench out there. Send the scrubs out there and give your guys a blow. Because it's not going to matter. Right. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, you've got to reevaluate how you schedule that, because counterintuitive is a good word by you. 4 games in 4 days. Now, to get a 3 seed is great, right? When they beat Michigan State, that was a foregone conclusion they were going to be a 3 seed.
Yes.
Had they beat Michigan and won the Big Ten title, they're a 3 seed. Michigan's
Yes.
a 5 seed, right? That game changed nothing. So to have it on Sunday leading up and then playing on Thursday after 4 games in 4 days, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So there has to be a way to reevaluate. Can you automatically get a 3 seed or a 2 seed if you win the tournament, if you're not already a 1 or 2? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
The way to fix it is just to guarantee those teams that play.
Go ahead, Josh.
Go ahead. I was just saying the only way to do it is to guarantee those teams that play on that Sunday as the lead up to your selection show, they're Fridays. You have to figure it out. I don't care where it is, region, because the regions seem to matter sometimes, don't matter. They just kind of pick and choose when that matters and what influence that you have.
Yeah.
Guess what? Friday afternoon slate is going to be the Big Ten championship teams. That's it.
But by the way, had Wisconsin been in Milwaukee, like many thought they should have been, they would have played Friday. But Kentucky gets that instead. And just to further your point on conference championship games not mattering, how in the world, and we mentioned this on Monday, how in the world was Louisville and former Badgers point guard Chucky Hepburn an 8 seed? I just don't understand that.
Did you see
Now, the one thing about Louisville, here is they're playing in Lexington, which is an hour and 10-minute drive from Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to get a pseudo, and nobody fills those stands at the round of 64 or the 32. Those are both, especially if they get Auburn in that second round, those are both going to be essentially home games for Louisville, which honestly, you're going to have to deal with a 1 eventually. It's not the worst thing in the world. They shouldn't have been that seed, but I cannot say they should be that upset because they're a bus ride away instead of a travel day. I think that's actually pretty important.
UConn an 8 seed after winning back-to-back national championships.
Before we pivot too far, there is a belief, and I've seen this on a couple things. I sent you both a text message. There is a belief that the committee screwed up and accidentally made Louisville the 8 seed and Memphis the 5. Because when you compare their, all the analytics here, if you look at your phones, Louisville is better in every single metric that you can evaluate
Net
them in.
RPI, Ken Palm. I don't know who Bart Torvik is, but I would assume he's a respected analytical guy.
Yes.
In terms of college basketball. And ESPN BPI, Louisville significantly better than Memphis in all of those metrics.
Every single one. And I mean, Memphis doesn't make sense as a 5 seed.
No.
Memphis
they're
has a tougher
underdogs to Colorado
matchup.
State, who's a 12.
They both have tough matchups because Creighton's a good tournament team as well. Remember, think about it. They've also been to the second weekend 3 of the last 4 years. That's for Creighton. So,
right.
But weirdly enough, I think the Lexington thing kind of evens it out. But it just tells you that the committee sets this way before the conference tournament even comes about. Mm-hmm. They make little changes with the auto bids, but they have their bracket, they have their skeleton already set by the time we even come close to the finish of the actual conference tournaments. And you're talking about having it earlier. I'll tell you why. CBS pays a whole lot of money to have that Big Ten championship lead into the selection show on Sunday evening. So that's never going to change because of the money involved.
No, you're right about that, but
you'd feel like they would just make a deal.
Right. We're going to play Friday if we're in that game.
You get to keep your show, your program. It's good for the whole sport. Well, now, guess what? Those teams play on Friday. It feels like a thing you would just work out.
But Yale, another example, right? Even down to the Ivy League. They played Sunday.
Does this not reek of last year? You have your Super Bowl in that semifinal. You beat the best team in the Big Ten. They did that last year with Purdue in that great overtime game. And then all of a sudden you go to a good, hot team that's going into the Big Ten championship. It was Illinois last year, Michigan this year. They lose. I'm not saying it's the same type of situation. They got killed in an Illinois game. But then, remember, think about last year, too. They had a Friday late game, too, and they still got blitzed. And it was Friday late. It was a 9:45 tip-off Eastern time at the Barclays Center. And they got blitzed by James Madison.
Yeah.
So it's reeks of last year. That's why I'm nervous.
I hear you, because the scenario is similar in terms of the Big Ten tournament and the way you enter you enter the tournament. But I think we can all agree very easily, very quickly, this Wisconsin team is much, much, much better than the Wisconsin team from a year ago. I mean, they just are, right? And they have a much more favorable matchup in the first round. James Madison was a team a lot of people looked at and went, oh, baby, watch out for them. I think a lot of people are now doing that with UC San Diego, who faces Michigan in the first round, a team that analytically doesn't turn the ball over, good at shooting threes. That's what James Madison was a year ago, and it worked out well for them, obviously, in the first round, knocking off the Badgers. So we will see.
You want to get me started, UC San Diego? If there's going to be a team that's going to be the McNeese State of last year, it's going to be UC San Diego. Why are we so sold on the UC San Diego? Because they're good on the turnover margin? Well, they play nobody all year. Here's something interesting. Michigan has 2 probably NBA players that are 7-footers, including one that is basically a stretch 5. Michigan, I think that is going to be a 15-point game. I wouldn't take UC San Diego if they were in my backyard. I am off of UC San Diego. That is going to be the McNeese State of last year. I am off of that. Michigan is going to outsize them. They're going to kill them. And my theme this year is I like teams that are hot coming into the tournament. You mentioned playing late, fine. But similarly to how NC State did it, teams that are hot coming into the tournament is a good theme to follow. High Point, another one. They haven't lost. High Point hasn't lost since January 16th. They haven't lost since January 16th to Longwood. And all of a sudden they win for 2 straight months. And now they got Purdue.
He just wanted to say Longwood. He definitely just wanted to say Longwood.
Yeah. Have you not been able to get these takes out on your program that you do?
We do a little bit.
Because you seem like you're bursting at the seams.
I was told that he was not allowed to do it.
Strouf and I had a couple interesting shows last year during the tournament, and that's why I just get a kick out of this, because I know Strouf can't deal with it, and I just give him a bunch of random little statistics
it's
and
my
random
least
little
favorite.
tidbits and nuggets.
I'll let him go. I'll let him go because he's entertaining. Objectively, Colin Russo is an entertainer. Yeah. So when he speaks, I listen. It doesn't mean I like what he's saying.
No, I have an important question here, because you're able to, encyclopedia style rattle off the small insignificant details. How good would you say you are at remembering the people in your lives, like birthdays and big events and stuff like that? Because you rattled off verbatim the start time and location of last year's Badgers tournament game, and then we're giving details on other, nobody remembers last year's McNeese State. That's not a thing anybody else knows, but for you, that's lock, stock.
So what the reference there is that McNeese State was a really hot team entering the tournament, and their schedule was as soft as they played the College of Biblical Studies. They played a bunch of universities you've never heard of.
They played University for Mississippi women's men's team. They played some horrific opponents to stack up on the wins. Everybody was so gassed up that they had 30 wins.
Information.
But so Josh, that's interesting.
Are you able to name? Go ahead.
No, Josh. All I'm saying
is you
got to find a theme. You got to find a theme. What's your theme?
I was asking you though. And I have a serious question. Do you remember every single one of your family members and friends' birthdays with the same encyclopedic knowledge as you do insignificant events from the March Madness tournament?
I'm hit or miss. It depends on the person. Depends on the type of thing to remember. You know what I'm great with? I'm great at recalling things in sports and movies and television. I'll give you an example. So I was swimming, and I'm still doing this Ironman thing that I told you guys about 2 months ago. And I was swimming about 2 weeks ago, and I did my longest nonstop swim, which was about 1,000 yards consecutively, which is a little 0.6, 0.7 miles. It took me 19 minutes. So 19 minutes in the pool going nonstop, it gets boring, right? You're trying to focus on your breathing. So what do I do? How do I entertain myself? And I'm somebody who needs to be entertained. I'm watching in my head. Because for some reason this clicks. And there might be a word for this, but we're not going to go there. And we're watching it in my head. And I'm watching Oppenheimer. verbatim through the movie, and it's great. And I get out of the pool. I'm like, that movie's great. That movie's great.
So do you replay 19 minutes in succession, or are you going like major plot points to plot points over that like 19 minute duration?
He gets out of the pool and says,
Good question.
that
question.
movie I just thought of for 20 minutes in a row? What a great movie.
What a good one.
Good question. So I thought of two major scenes. I thought of the scene with Louis Strauss and Oppenheimer arguing over the ethicality of making the hydrogen bomb. And then I did back to the scene when Colonel Pash, who was Casey Affleck in the movie, cornered Oppenheimer at Berkeley while Oppenheimer was telling General Groves about it on the train. So I was watching those two different scenes, and I kind of just went back and forth, and I was kind of just going back and forth with it. And hold on, your mind shuts off, and then all of a sudden you think, and then you're like, all right, I'm close to being finished. And then you watch the movie, and then you're entertained. That's how you kind of pass yourself. I don't have headphones. I can't listen to music. It's none of that.
There's a term for this, but I am unable to see. If you say, imagine an apple that has rainwater on it in your head, I do not see anything when I close my eyes. There is no image that is recreated. Like think of something in your head. I thought that was a figure of speech. I didn't realize that when someone says, imagine this in your mind, I never see the thing I'm supposed to be imagining.
It's a very red apple. That's what I'm imagining. Quite red.
Yeah, I got nothing.
So, like, this, what are you saying? Like, some people think differently. Like, I kind of think in pictures. I kind of think of how I see it. And I don't necessarily think of, like, the numbers side of it. I think about the picture.
All right. Okay. We're done with that. Two things for you, and then we will get to one word. Actually, we're not done with that because I want to stay on it for a moment. So you're in an elderly swim class. That's where you're thinking about Oppenheimer?
Yeah. I got something else for you guys too, if you guys are interested in hearing.
Hold on.
You weren't going to give us anything on swim
You just said.
Wait,
yeah.
what do you want to know? All right. Well, we talked about this last time. I'm in an elderly swim team, and at 5 a.m, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes Saturdays. It's a team. We're a collective group.
Are you competing?
There's a meet next weekend, but I'm not doing it because I tweaked my shoulder, so I'm kind of I stuck out of it. I don't even know what
You tweaked your shoulder swimming with 60-year-old men? Yeah, it's
a real thing. Swimmers know.
Are you playing water polo or swimming?
Yeah, that's a very real thing.
It's a very real thing.
From being a swimmer, yeah, that's very real.
So I'm being very careful about this. Look at Hunter. Thank you for chiming in, Hunter. I'm telling you, it's a big problem. So I'm being very nervous. I'm very ticky-tack about it. But you know what I'm doing? You're going to like this. I'm doing this in July. I'm hiking Machu Picchu. I'm hiking Machu Picchu in Peru solo.
When?
July.
The hand clap. The self-satisfaction.
Nobody loves Colin Russo.
Come on, Josh.
Colin Russo.
Hold on,
think
this
that
is great.
A
I thought about this.
Building and unique experience.
It's 5 days, 5 nights, and you kind of go through the jungle a couple nights. You're on the mountains one night. It's insane. And I'm like, you know what? I need something.
Are you still single?
I'm not here to recruit.
Duh.
Huh? Yeah.
I asked if you were still single.
What are you, nuts? What do you think you're talking?
This is the most single-ass behavior I've ever heard in my life.
This guy is
Hold on,
just a
Joshy.
ginormous
Hold on,
dork.
Joshy.
Hold
on,
You're a
Joshy.
ginormous dork.
What do you mean? What, I'm swimming?
You spend your time. You spend your time swimming with 65-year-old retirees in South Florida while picturing Oppenheimer scenes that you're playing over and over in your head. And while it's very cool you're going to Machu Picchu and doing a 5-night hike by yourself, this is just unbelievably nerdy behavior.
Yeah. Are you ready for jungle life? You don't strike me as a jungle guy.
No, he's going to die.
I'll be all right. How about this? So the other day you mentioned the swimming. I'm doing an Ironman, so I got the bike too. My bike's a mess. So my bike, it went taut a couple times. I couldn't ride it. I don't know what was going on. I was trying to self-diagnose what was going on with the gears.
Didn't you get in a bike crash the last time we talked?
Yes.
Yeah. So the bike's a mess. So I bring it to the bike shop on Saturday, and I bring it to my bike guy, and I bring it in. I'm wheeling it in. I'm like, dude, I don't even know where to begin. The pedals are going taut. There's something wrong with the gears. I think this needs to be recalibrated, maybe rebuilt. I have no idea. And he looks at it. He's giving it a quite shake. He's like, dude, the wheel's about to fall off. I'm like, the what? And he shakes it a little bit. He shakes like the frame, and the back wheel just pops off the bike. And he's like, have you been riding this? I'm like, dude, I've been riding this twice a week. Well, I didn't realize the wheel was about to fall off. You know what I mean? It's like when you finally get the car to the end of the destination in the vacation movie and everything just falls apart. Yeah. That's kind of what happens with this bike. I'm like, dude, what the hell was that? And he's like, your axle's broken. Your gears need to be reshifted. So I spent $42, and I sat with him in the back of this bike store for about an hour. I missed the first part of the Wisconsin game against Michigan State. And I was sitting there in the back, and I had to have him walk me through how to fix the tires, how to fix the gears, and the whole thing, because it's a whole monopoly. It's like you're playing surgery. I don't even know what I'm doing. It was bizarre. But the bike was a complete disaster. It was a disaster.
This guy is an idiot.
Yeah. Are you going to be going on this solo Machu Picchu hiking trip with a group, or are you setting foot one foot in front of the other with no other people around you?
The thing is, I don't know the area, and I don't speak fluent Spanish yet.
Obviously.
So I'm not sure how I'm going to play. I'm not going to play that yet. There's groups that do it, and you can do it that way. And maybe I'll do that. And but I haven't made that decision officially yet. So let's stay tuned.
Have you booked your flight?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. All right.
Yeah, not bad, though.
Right,
I feel like that's fun. I feel like that's cool. I feel like that's cool.
I would agree. It's cool. Objectively, I think it's cool.
It is cool.
It's
I just don't know if you're
like
cut out for Joe.
I don't know. This doesn't strike me as a very big you thing.
It's something different. I need something different.
What was the question?
Are you doing something? Do you got something planned in the future? Josh, you too? Anything interesting? Are you just go up to like Door County?
I think
you go to like Door County and hang out.
Are you taking a shot at me?
I think he's taking a shot at us and saying we don't do
I'm
anything.
saying there's room for two, Joshy. If you want to come, if you want to meet me in Lima, you can meet me in Lima, Joshy.
I think I'm going to Red Rocks in Colorado in June.
What is that? That's a music festival, right?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, yep, it sure is.
You don't know what Red Rocks is?
That's like the most famous concert venue in the United States.
Whatever. Save me the trouble. All right. What I'll tell you is this: I like High Point. I think I'm up and down on Akron. I haven't played that yet. But one thing I'm out on is McNeese State again. I'm not falling for that trap. I'm not. Clemson is good. I'm not falling for that. And UC San Diego is going to be a 15-point loss. All right, book that.
All right. That's Colin Russo. I guess let's give this a shot.
Why don't we talk about the good teams?
No, because that's not Colin. That's just not what he does. All right, let's get to One Word Wednesday. We will make it tournament themed. Our mascot of the NCAA tournament, DJ Burns, the big MFer, is on the screen. Hunter has a list of prompts/topics related to the NCAA tournament. We will all answer them with ideally one word, but I guess if you have to say something like UC San Diego, it will be one team instead of one word. Hunter, the order we will go in, by the way, it'll go me, Josh, Colin. Okay, that will be the order we go for every question. Me, Josh, Colin. Hunter, let's play One Word Wednesday.
All right. What double-digit seed will make it to the Sweet 16?
I think it's Colorado State. They play Memphis in the first round, and then they will play the winner of Maryland and Grand Canyon, which I think will be Grand Canyon. So I think you've got a guaranteed double-digit seed there one way or another. But I like Colorado State. I will take the Rams here.
Is it a bad take for me to go UNC? UNC comes in on fire with a lot to say. They've heard a lot. I mean, that game was the easiest bet in the world yesterday. Of course they were going to cover that spread. I'm going to go UNC.
I might be a little chalky here because it's trendy, and I don't love that, but Drake. I'm high on Drake. I'm low on Texas Tech, too, and that's who they'd play, the winner of that in Wilmington. Drake, good coach, Ben McCollum. He's the D2 guy. He was a 5-time D2 Coach of the Year, and he brought 4 of his guys with him to Drake. They slow the game down. It's not going to be an SEC AAU game. I like Drake there.
What top 3 seed will lose in the first round?
Top 3 seed in the first round.
Strouf, you know you want to pick it.
There's a right answer. There's a right answer.
I don't want to pick it. I think this is where I'm going to go, but I don't feel great about it. I think it's Iowa State. Here in Milwaukee, they will host Lipscomb. Iowa State just up and down too much this year. I don't trust him as far as I can throw Tyrese Hunter, the Wisconsin guy. But I'll take Iowa State here.
I don't know if I have a good answer for this.
I'm
going to say St. John's just because I don't like Rick Pitino.
Oh, Josh, wrong answer. Jeez. St. John's is going to be great. Them versus Florida in the Elite Eight is going to feed generations. That'll be in history.
I think what I want to get Colin's answer, and then I want to guess what Hunter was referring to because I think I know what he's referring to. But Colin, you go.
All right. So I loved this last year. I hit it last year. I'm hitting it again. Kentucky losing Detroit. The Trojan horse. Yeah. I love it. The story's there. You want to talk about some history? The Trojan horse is going to go right in there, and they're going to explode the whole operation. I know it's not Calipari, but Mark Pope lost last year as BYU.
Subtle. King of subtlety.
BYU, when Mark Pope was there, who's now the Kentucky coach, when BYU last year lost to Duquesne in that first round, and it was a disgrace with all LeBron's friends running that program. And then they lost that game. It was terrible. And then he goes over to Kentucky. Watch them lose again to Detroit. A lot of pressure here. Oakland last year. I love Kentucky to lose here.
I think that's an interesting pick by Colin. I think I like his better than mine. I think what Hunter was hinting at was the fact that 2-seeded Tennessee plays 15-seeded Wofford, who I am high on. I just didn't like the draw because I think Tennessee's a really good team. I was high on Wofford to be like the Oakland of this year before I saw the bracket, but now seeing the bracket, I love Tennessee, and I think they've got a run in store. So I will not pick Wofford, but I think that's what Hunter was referring to.
It was. Give me a lock for the Final Four. Just one team that you would count as a lock for the Final Four.
Okay. It's a cop-out, but I think it's the Duke Blue Devils. I'm really high on Duke. Cooper Flagg will be back. I think the rookie mistakes and freshman mistakes that they made earlier in the year, given how young they are, I think they've gotten rid of most of those. He has an opportunity to knock off the rust Friday against whoever the 16th seed they end up facing is, and then he'll just get comfortable. I like their draw. Like Mississippi State, Baylor, Oregon, Liberty, Arizona, and Akron are the 6 teams that stand in their way of the Elite Eight. I just think they really need to win one tough game, and that could be against the highest scoring team in the country in Alabama. Could be the Badgers, but I think Duke is a lock for the Final Four.
Just to be different, because I agree, I'm going to say Florida. I think Florida got a pretty good draw down there. I think they are one of probably the better options that people aren't picking enough to win the entire damn thing.
Now, those are two good answers. Duke, weirdly enough, by the metrics, it's like they match up with all the great champions, which annoys me. I'm never going to root for them, but that team is, like Strouf said, easy bracket. They're going to dominate. Florida, I think, is my champion. So Josh stole my answer there. I think Florida's the best team in the country, playing the best at the best time. But weirdly enough, I don't know if I'm going to put them in my bracket, but I'll lock them just because I was high on them all year. Now I'm down on them, is Auburn. Fun fact. No team in the history of college basketball has lost 3 of their last 4 games and then went on to win the title. Auburn has played an incredibly hard quad 1 schedule. They've played in tough buildings. They lost to Duke by essentially 1 point in their building. They've beaten Houston. They've beaten Iowa State. They've killed Purdue. They beat Alabama in Alabama. They've beaten all the good teams except for Florida. So they have a tough bracket, but watch them get hot at the right time. They're all like 27 years old. They're all Strouf's age. And I can see them having turning around for a good run.
To give a little context on that, Duke is minus 143 to come out of the East, and Florida is minus 134. The other two, Houston and Auburn, are both slight underdogs. Auburn's only plus 105, though. So we gave the 3 most obvious answers. Shout out to us.
Good for us, yeah. Well, we were looking for locks. They sound like locks to me.
I think if I'm going to choose one, I am actually going to go Iowa State to come out of that bracket with Auburn because they don't have Deshaun Gilbert, who's starting point guard. But you know what? I thought that team, they played Auburn in Maui about 4 months ago, and they were great. And I'm still high on that game.
The
so I'm
ceiling's
gonna
high,
take
but the
it.
floor's low. What are you laughing at,
Yeah.
Maui?
Just
Floor
the
is low.
Maui reference.
Anyway,
So with Thanksgiving.
9 seeds are 8-4 the
5
last
months
3
ago.
years. Which 8 seed will win?
It's Louisville to me.
There's an answer.
Now I know Colin's high on Creighton, but I think Louisville got screwed. I think they're going to have a chip on their shoulder, and they could give an early run for their money to Auburn in the round of 32 after they knock off Ryan Kalkbrenner and the Creighton Blue Jays.
What are we looking for? Are we looking for a 9 seed or an 8 seed?
8 seed to
8
win.
seed?
8.
I have taken, and I'm going to ride them, and I think Colin might hate this pick. I have Gonzaga winning and then beating Houston. I think
Wow.
they're
I don't hate this.
incredibly talented.
I don't hate
watched
this.
them play this last half of the year with their life on the line. And aside from the hiccups against St. Mary's, they were absolutely laying it on teams. I think they're a lot better than their record shows. And I think in this sort of situation here, in a one or done, I think they could really surprise some teams with a deep run.
Now, I love that, Josh. Now, they had some problems with St. Mary's, you're right.
Love that.
But one thing about them is they've made 9 straight Sweet 16s. And Houston has made 5 straight Sweet 16s. So that 1-8 matchup is going to be very interesting that second round. I'm going UConn here because I think Oklahoma is the worst 9 seed in the field. Oklahoma's got a decent. Weirdly enough, I've heard.
Pick is Liberty over Oregon. It is a
Now that's
5-12
become
classic.
a trendy pick recently. I don't know a ton about the Flames.
I don't either. I just read some stuff that made me feel good about the Flames. I don't think Oregon's very good at all. I think we saw them play a couple times, and even though they beat our Badgers, you're like, what is this team? What's going on here? This is just weird. I wasn't. At no point was I impressed by what they were like. Michigan, you can be impressed by that. Colin said the 2 NBA players, the big ass Russian. I mean, they're
Excuse me?
they got a big ass Russian. Golden. There he is.
He's back.
He's pumping
He's
his
back.
fists again.
Quiet hiccup. Let's think about UConn for a second. They got a terrible draw because they got Florida there in that second lap. But I think
thought
that
we were
pedigree,
talking about the Big Ten.
Yeah,
He
he
missed
missed that. Colin, Big Ten team that'll lose in the first round.
Purdue to High Point. I told you guys, High Point hasn't lost since January 16th. Purdue is going to lose this game. They don't have the
What do
marquee
you think-
big. They're actually decent in the tournament. Go ahead,
What do you think
Joshy.
about Liberty over Oregon?
That coach Dana Altman is very good in the tournament. I wouldn't bet against him. He's very good in the tournament. He always is, even if they're underseeded. You gotta think
What
about coaches
upset
here,
are you
Josh.
most confident in?
What upset am I
High
most
Point, no.
confident in?
Troy, the Trojan horse.
I
Sign
hate to
me
do
up.
this.
Sign
Don't
me
you
up.
dare.
Let's not
Don't do it,
Kentucky lose
Strouf.
again.
I hate
Let's
to
do it
this.
again. Let's do it again.
It's the Eagles, ain't it? The
Let's go,
Lobos?
Josh.
Give me the Lobos over Marquette.
I
Give me
hate
New
you.
Mexico over Marquette. That's the upset I'm most confident in.
Yeah, Dick Pitino.
Unfortunately.
Oh, that's going to be great. I agree with that. That's a good one. I agree with that.
He just
agree
has
with
too
that.
much energy,
I
man.
know. Yeah. I feel like I'm everywhere. Just
I've been
because.
grading. Go ahead.
Just because Colin Russo's been at UC San Diego, I'm going to say UC San Diego.
Yeah, welcome to the team.
I'm going to thumb my nose at him.
What team do you
I hate
trust
that,
the
Joshy.
least?
What team do I trust the least?
Marquette?
Marquette's up there.
Did we trust Wisconsin? Can I say Wisconsin?
No, it's you can say Wisconsin. You can say whatever you want. My answer
I
is
feel like
Kansas.
that's a fair one.
I don't trust Kansas at all.
Strofi, let me get this straight. You think Kansas is going to lose to Calipari in the first round in Providence? Calipari, who never wins a big game?
Calipari, who's in his first year at Arkansas, facing off against Bill Self and the Kansas Jayhawks. Yes, I think Arkansas wins that game.
I don't know. I think I'm on Kansas on that one. I don't like Arkansas. They don't have a lot of good wins. They lost to Michigan at Madison Square Garden
Kansas
to Jimmy
stinks.
Fee early in the year. I know, Kansas sucks too. AJ Store, what? Send him off. See ya over the mountains. We don't need him. Oh my God, what a addition by subtraction that was.
Indeed.
A disgrace, some would say.
Yeah, I agree. Who are
North
your champions?
Carolina.
Can we get this out of the way?
Go ahead, Colin.
Sorry, Hunter. Who are your champions?
I imagine we're just skipping to the end of one word now because Colin's impatient.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
And then champions.
If that's on the list, let's go to Hunter. I'm sorry about that. My bad.
What the hell do you think we're doing here?
It's my bad. Hunter, that's me and you. I'm sorry about that, my friend. My bad.
It's him. That's him. We'll take that one.
I mean,
This is fun. I like this. It's a little chaotic.
A little.
Yeah, you are the reason it's chaotic. You are the reason.
forget it. Let's just do this. Who's your national champion? It better be Duke.
I've got Florida over Duke.
I've also got Florida over Duke.
I got Florida winning. I don't know who over yet. I haven't made my bracket yet, so I don't know over who. But Florida's going to win it all. It's so fun. Why is that funny, Josh? I don't know.
You didn't think during this whole rant that we've had here that it would be wise to bring up your bracket and make a decision just for the program?
I gotta be honest. For a man that has this many opinions on how the things can go, it's incredible and completely on brand that he's like, yeah, I haven't even looked at the damn thing yet.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it.
I
I'm
haven't
focused
decided
around-
who my. I haven't decided you need somebody who's your bracket winner. Who is going to be that team that's your bracket winner? You know, you need somebody to differentiate. You think the only one's is Florida Duke? I mean, let me sell you the bridge up back too. If you think that's the case, who's going to be your bracket winner?
And then one last one because I found this interesting.
I
And
think he actually asked a question.
Yeah, we're just gonna breeze right past it.
yeah, I'm.
That was a good question. Hold on, Hunter. Hold on. Add that to the list. That was a good one.
No, Hunter, don't hold on.
I have Gonzaga
No.
in the Elite Eight. That's my bracket winner.
Josh, why did you cave like that?
Because I like to get them a little riled up.
I have 4 double-digit seeds in the Sweet 16.
On this day in 1966, Texas Western became the first team to have an all-black starting lineup beat the all-white Kentucky Wildcats 72-65. Best story in
Road,
college
good movie.
basketball history, right?
I don't think
That's Glory Road, right? That's a great movie, right, Hunter?
Yeah. Second best basketball movie of
Never
all
seen the
time.
movie.
no.
seen that
Coach
movie.
Carter's the best basketball movie
The
of all time.
proposition of right with the way that question was asked, if I would have said wrong, I feel like
No. Hey, how about Gordon Hayward and Butler, huh? You can't say
I
that.
really like Loyola Chicago.
Yeah, Sister Gina, what hell of a run.
Let me ask you this, guy. We were talking about this yesterday on the show. At what point in the tournament does a Cinderella team sort of run out of gas and you're kind of away and done with them? Like it's a new toy and you're ready to put them back
Elite
in the
Eight.
bin. All right, this was fun. Yeah, I'm done with it.
Elite, it's the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
Get a win in the Sweet 16. Start that second weekend off with a win, and then you can lose that Saturday or Sunday before we get to the Final Four. Elite Eight is where you lose your luster.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's the right point because when it comes to the Final Four,
we want to watch the best teams.
I want to see the
week of
Alabamas. I want to see the
hype up, yeah.
Tennessees. I want to see the Dukes, the Houstons, the Auburns, the Floridas. Like that's what I want to see in that final weekend and ultimately in the championship game. It's a really fun story, right? If you see San Diego or if Yale or if who'd you like again? The double-digit seed you really like, High Point, right? If they go on a nice run. That's great, right? I would love to see them to start off the second weekend. But if you lose in the Sweet 16, I'm not heartbroken. If you get to the Elite Eight, I'm probably now rooting against you. Like NC State, I didn't need them in the Final Four last year, but we ultimately got that. All right, Colin Russo, ESPN West Palm 106.3 in West Palm Beach, Florida. Co-hosts Russo and Rizzo, 4 to 6 Eastern, 3 to 5 Central, each and every weekday. Always love catching up with our chaotic, dumb little brother, Colin Russo. Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Bye, Joshy.
Love you, Colin. You're the best.
He really is, man. I mean, he is. I call him our little brother because that's what he just gives off, little brother energy.
He is. If I were to compare it to anything, it's like if you've ever been working on a grill and a fire starts under the hood of it or under the cover, and you're unaware, so you open it and just flames take over. That's him. Because as soon as the top pops, it's everywhere. You're just getting full Colin Russo.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's a little bit of delay makes it even more chaotic and works somehow against us, but for him.
Want to know the best part? This guy is a professional, right? He has a full-time job.
Yes.
I asked him for 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
It's been just about 45.
Well, we know. He's going to be him.
Yeah.
He's the intern guy. They'll be fine.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's right. He oversees the interns at ESPN West Palm, which seems
what
like
is
such
going on
a
in that
human
office?
resources issue.
Like, how is he the one
like
doing that?
Enormous HR problem. Big time problem, but nonetheless. All right. NCAA tournament tips off tomorrow. Wisconsin tips off tomorrow against Montana. We'll be back with you Friday following that game and before the Marquette game as they take on New Mexico. I don't feel great about the Golden Eagles. Now, that's not to say I don't think they can win on Friday. And we'll talk a little bit more about it on Friday. But I've been so discouraged the way they've played over the last month that if they are not on their A game, I just don't think that's good enough in the NCAA tournament. So we will see come Monday. But that New Mexico squad is cooking at the right time. Marquette is favored by 3.5 in that game, but a small spread. By the way, for context, Wisconsin over Montana favored by 16.5. All right, time now. You learn something new every day. We learned something new yesterday. It's time now for what we learned. We've got a scheduled 90 seconds remaining in the show. We're going long today.
Yeah.
Just a heads up for everybody. So I'm actually going to give Joshy the floor to start things off, and we will unpack the situation together, and then we will get Hunter's take on it at the end. Given what is going on with a man who sits in the chair I'm sitting in, coming up next on Kyle Brust and Nortman from 2 to 5. Joshy, take it away.
I'm going to give a little bit of abbreviated version just for the sense of time here, but most people who know me and recognize my voice or face recognize me from my time on Scalzo and Brust, the program that was in the afternoons here on ESPN Wisconsin. That program ran for about 4 years with me as the main producer, probably a little bit over than that before I switched to Jen Gabachewy. Well, we have a thing that was called the Scalzo and Brust family. Many people who are listening to this right now probably were a member of said Scalzo and Brust family. So yesterday, Ben, Brust, and myself, we went on a meeting. It is a partner meeting. It is a person who I met at a golf outing who reached out to me about potential marketing and partnering with ESPN Milwaukee. I set up the meeting, and I asked, given the full roster of all the people who do sales here, I picked Ben Brust. It's my number one man, my confidant, the guy I can rely on. Well, this was the third meeting. The first meeting was simply an introduction. We got to try their food. The second one, he came here. We talked a little more in depth. And this third one, we were putting dollars and cents and a plan in front of the people we had been meeting with. Prior to the meeting fully starting, there was one member from the other party that was missing. Prior to that, Ben was telling us about his day. Yesterday in the morning, he met the deacon because they are doing wedding prep. They are getting married in a Catholic church. They need to meet with this deacon, watch some videos. Out of nowhere, sort of blurted out, Ben decides to tell me in front of this person who we've gotten to know a little bit, but is closer to an acquaintance than he is to a friend, and said, Josh, yeah, he's not invited to my wedding. And I responded with, yeah, I kind of figured that was the case. And then he added, oh, we'll talk about this in the car after.
Oh, I didn't know this part.
Yes. So he treated me like a baby, like you would a child or your significant other you were having a spat with. Now, mind you, Ben and I had just ridden together.
On the way there,
and we would be riding back. So any of those times would be great to have told me this. I personally don't think I even really need to be told. I don't get an invite. I get the hit. I understand it. I'm going to harbor no ill feelings. Had he chosen those routes, any other route besides making it incredibly awkward for me and our friend that was, a new person that we were trying to get invest here, trying to tell him all the great things ESPN Milwaukee and ESPN Wisconsin provide for him. He says, yeah, you're not invited to my wedding. I have taken the route of I'm not that upset about the lack of invite.
Sure.
It's more the manner in which it was delivered. Now, I can tell you there's people around me, and not just people like directly around me, that aren't too happy with the way it happened and have some ill feelings and are harboring some ill thoughts about the situation and the way it went down.
Yeah.
I don't have any of those. I'm more marveling at the complete unawareness and inability to do anything the normal way.
Sure, and I hear you. So you interrupted Kyle Bruston-Nortman yesterday.
Yes.
When we were talking about Save the Dates coming. And we made Ben feel bad about how he did it.
Yes.
To the point where he goes, hey, I got to leave the studio.
Yeah.
He comes back with an invite that's in an envelope, and it is addressed to Mr. Alex Strouf and Miss Allie, my girlfriend.
Yes.
He then grabs a pen, crosses our names out,
Yep.
writes in Mr. Josh and Mussolini,
Yep.
and hands it to you.
Yes.
Like you can't see it as addressed to somebody else.
Correct.
And I don't know why his brain worked in a way where he thought that was the right route to go.
No, and we talked about it after, and I think he thought that was his legitimate fix. I think had I accepted that invite and said, yeah, I go, you're out. You're no longer even part of the wedding. You are now completely removed. I think because he was so flustered in that moment, we would be in a totally different spot. Now, I'm a person with pride, self-dignity, and respect.
Okay, I lack those things, so that's good you have them.
So there is 0.00 chance I end up at Ben Brust's wedding. There is
you're not going?
There is no way in hell I can debase myself, embarrass myself.
So you've thought
to that
about
wedding.
this now?
Oh, yeah. I thought about it when I was sitting right there yesterday. I can't be the guy walking in with everybody, especially with how, everybody knows about that who works here. Everybody who's listened to any of the programs knows about this. I can't show my face there. That'd be embarrassing.
Can I show my face there?
Yeah, you're kind of a pawn in this little game.
Which is an issue to me.
Yes, but you weren't served the indignity of being told publicly you can't go for no reason and then be given a pity invite when he realized he screwed up.
Yeah.
It is a little different.
You're right.
Like, sure, maybe now it's out loud that you were sort of a shoo-in, but you understood that. You're not that close with Ben.
Right.
You work with him, so the reason you're there is your work relationship. It's not like it's
100%.
It's not the same relationship that Ben and I have had that goes years.
You guys obviously worked together for years, but also there are experiences at concerts, many of them, right? Your girlfriend cut his hair for many years. I think maybe still does.
Yes, he also put up a big stink about getting invited to my birthday a couple years ago, and we had gone out of our way for a long time to include Ben on everything.
We can agree, though, you are ultimately going to get a formal invite.
I don't think so. And I'm not holding out for one.
I would say to see the way he's reacted and how bad he feels and realizes, you know what, I screwed up.
I would be surprised.
Okay. I would not be.
I think knowing Ben and how this went, we're just going to hope it goes away and it doesn't get brought up again.
Well,
I've also made it clear I'm not planning to go.
You've told him this?
Well, I've said it on air 3 separate times.
This being the third?
Yes.
Okay. And look, I don't blame you for that, but it's uncomfortable. And this is clearly, whether or not you agree with me on this, I think it's a fact. This is going to fracture your relationship in some capacity.
I think it will be worse for him than me. I've understood my relationship with Ben from the first 3 months of working.
When you found out he was engaged about a year ago, did you think, I'll be at that wedding?
No.
You really?
I thought there was a chance.
Okay.
I thought, depending on how things shake out and how things go, there's a chance. I did not think, yes, I'll be there.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's how I've proceeded from the start.
I want to bring Hunter in because, so Hunter obviously, has had a wedding. He's the only married person on this panel.
Congrats.
Congratulations. B, is married to an event planner, right? So obviously somebody that has a unique perspective on this. And this was the big story at ESPN Wisconsin yesterday because it's just so unbelievably uncomfortable. I was sweating. Not because of, obviously a little bit of the involvement that I got pulled into for no reason, but just the idea of you hearing that in that scenario, it's just
yucky.
Unbelievable. Yeah, yucky levels of uncomfortability. So, Hunter, as you hear this situation unravel, other than I wonder if I'll be invited to the wedding. What are your big takeaways and thoughts?
Well, I went back to when I was going through the same thing Ben was, and how stressful that is. So, like,
It's a stressful spot, no doubt.
Well, and I can't believe I'm doing this, but like, I sympathize with Ben because you are talking to, when you are talking to the deacon or the pastor or whatever, like, you get into some pretty in-depth heavy stuff when it comes to like pre-marriage wedding stuff with just that side of it. Plus then you're doing all of the planning. His fiance is going to be stressed out with everything. Like, that stress then comes onto him on top of having a kid. Like, I know Ben's just a dummy and like that's established. So adding on to that, the levels of stress he's probably going through with it, I did feel really bad. One of the best things I ever heard as I explained this to my wife then, the first words out of her mouth were, yeah, weddings are expensive. I wouldn't invite either of them either if I was Ben. Like, it was zero thought that if it was in Sarah and I were getting married, you guys wouldn't be invited. So, like, I do think there's just a level of like, yeah, this just, when you're at a limited number of people, like, I just think cut them a little slack maybe.
Well, one thing I'm going to cut you off at is there is no sympathy that's going to be given, nor I think deserved, to Ben Bruss in this situation. I think if anybody deserves sympathy, it was me, who was publicly embarrassed.
Sympathy's not a one-way street, Josh.
Hunter, you had tough decisions to make, I imagine, on who was involved.
Yes, we also got married during the pandemic and had a limited number that we were allowed in the building.
Did you embarrass anybody in telling them they couldn't go?
No. I also was texting people because I don't have face-to-face conversations.
And I understand what it is. There's big families involved, a lot of relatives, things along those lines. The fact of me not being invited is very insignificant to it. It is, I mean, there's 200 people invited to this. That's a pretty damn big wedding. To think I don't make the top 175. Now, Hunter, you and I don't have an established relationship outside of really these airwaves and, professionally working. I would not for a second be like, even think, oh, I can't believe Hunter didn't invite me to his wedding, because we don't have that established outside of work hours relationship. Ben and I's is so much deeper. It is like, I said it on the air.
You are a little surprised you weren't invited.
I know, because here's what happened. Ben avoided talking to me about the wedding at any point.
Oh, so you got the hint.
Yes, I got the hint long ago. I thought it was borderline. And I do believe I probably was borderline, and it probably was one of the last few people in or out. And I could be misguided in that.
No, he did tell me you were literally like the first person off on his side. Like I don't think this was an act. He said, like, we have a B list and A list, yada, yada. So once we get RSVPs for no's, we each have backup lists. Yeah. For like, so I get one, she gets one, right? It would go back like almost like a draft, right? You get one, I get one, yada, yada. You were number one on his list, is what he said.
I will believe him at that. As much as I probably shouldn't.
And I think I was the last one in. Yes. Right? So I think like you and I were right next to each other.
As much as my better judgment would tell me I shouldn't believe that, because you were part of it when, after that first segment, when I introduced this to the audience and Kyle Preston Nortman, he came back and he said, I gave you two excuses and one of them wasn't true. So
oh no.
One of them fell apart instantly. And I wasn't looking I don't need an excuse.
All right. You're going to be okay though, right?
Oh, I mean, I think I've handled this beautifully.
Okay.
I've come out. Look, you should see the talk and text line. Go back.
Oh, I was actually during the show a little bit when Colin was rambling. There are pages and pages and pages of people defending you. So I think you'll be
that'll
all right.
be fun. Maybe we got some in Madison too.
Ridiculous. All right, that will do it for us today. Joshy's going to be all right. He's back with us Friday, although I am going to have to kick him back to the control room Friday. As Hunter will not be with us.
I have a quick question here.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, in the inevitability that when I end up getting married, I have to invite everyone but Ben, right? Kyle, Brad, you.
Yep.
And then probably people he's also good friends with.
I would invite Frank Kaminsky.
That would be good. That would be good. Jonathan?
Yeah, Jonathan invite his brother.
You got to get
Maybe his
somebody
dad.
that's also like if it were to happen in like 4 months, like if you invited me over him, because then it's somebody that it's very clearly like, what is happening here?
There's for sure going to be about a half a dozen to a dozen spite invites.
You know, it could be good. And I don't know that you could pull this off. It might be a little too hard to pull off. Invite his fiance, then wife, but not him, no plus one.
I don't think I can do that. Because, I mean, I don't want to take her down with this, but she is also party to me not being invited.
That's true. And she's a lovely lady.
Lovely. Big fan of her.
But she's marrying a big idiot.
Yeah.
Which is just a fact. All right, that does it for us. Me and Joshy back with you Friday. Hunter will rejoin us Monday. Will the Badgers or Marquette be alive Monday when we talk, Hunter?
Badgers, yes. Marquette if Cam Jones somehow shows up again.
Okay, got it. We will talk to you Friday. College basketball, baby. Let's go. That'll do it for us. It's Mr. Relevant. Peace.
Peace.